Welcome to NBA Now by Chat Sports. I am Nic Rohloff, and we are talking about the latest NBA trade rumors because the trade deadline is actually approaching much more sooner than you might think. Remember, folks, it's the first week of February, and as we do get into December, we only have about, 6 weeks until the deadline is approaching. So we have to talk about the latest trade rumors on Giannis Antetokounmpo, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, and the Houston Rockets. But before we jump into the latest trade rumors, make sure you do follow us on Instagram. @ChatSports is our handle on IG. We are posting a lot of content over there, whether it be around the NBA, NFL, college football. We are your one-stop shop for everything in the sports world. And if you are on Instagram, you have to give us a follow. ChatSports is our handle. Go give us a follow over there right now. All right, let's get over to Giannis Antetokounmpo because is a trade not going to happen? Well, it seems that way. There's a report out there by The Athletic that there is no chance that the Bucks trade Antetokounmpo, and when teams called on a potential Giannis trade earlier in the season, they said they were living in a fantasy land if you thought Giannis was going to be on the trade block. And if we're going to be honest here, folks, it made the most sense that this was really going to happen. Like, it never made sense for Giannis to be traded. Unless Antetokounmpo came out and requested a trade himself, well, the Bucks were not going to move off of him because when you're a small market franchise like the Milwaukee Bucks, although, yes, they did win a championship in 2021, it is very difficult to put together a roster in these smaller markets that can compete with the big ones like Boston, New York, Miami, Los Angeles. The list goes on and on. And when you have a player like Giannis, who's a top 5 player in the world, already a top 30, top 35 player in NBA history with his multiple MVPs, Finals MVP, like, you're just not going to trade that player unless they make it abundantly clear they will no longer play for you. And the Bucks have actually turned around their season, and these trade rumors got kind of started and ignited early in November and late October when the Bucks were at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. Well, that's no longer the case. The Bucks are actually 11-10 at the time of filming this, 5th in the Eastern Conference, and they're 8-2 in their last 10 games. And if we're being honest and talking MVPs right now, I would have Giannis as my MVP. Is the Bucks the best team in the NBA? No. But the way he's playing and the way he's been carrying this Bucks roster, that has been a little underwhelming. No Chris Middleton yet. Damian Lillard is starting to play good ball, but Lopez has been down. Bobby Portis, they have not had the supporting cast that they usually have. And Giannis averaging the most points in the NBA, 32 a game, leading the NBA in scoring. He is an MVP leader right now in the association. And with them playing that well, I don't think Antetokounmpo is going to request a trade anytime soon. And if he's not going to request a trade, the Bucks are definitely not going to trade him. So I would not get your hopes up on Giannis being dealt out of Milwaukee if you had some already. All right, let's shift gears to the New Orleans Pelicans and Zion Williamson because it looks like Zion may not actually be traded or moved off of in general. Charania of ESPN reported the Pelicans are not looking to move off of Zion Williamson after some believe that there is a chance he could be moved off of, not just in the trade market, but legitimately waived. This is someone who refuses to play basketball. He's been out this season. He's only played in 6 games. He's been dealing with a lower body injury, and he's going to be out at least another 2 weeks. The Pelicans are 4-18 at the bottom of the Western Conference, and after they went kind of all in to try to acquire DeJounte Murray this offseason, they were hoping this was going to be the year they took a step forward in the West. But with Zion being hurt, Ingram being up and down, DeJounte Murray hurt as well, CJ McCollum hurt, unfortunately, they just might be the most unlucky team in the NBA, and they might have to think about kind of reshaping their roster and maybe recouping some assets back since it's gone so poorly thus far. We'll talk about Brandon Ingram and his potential landing destinations if he's traded later on in this episode. But I think this is a mistake from the New Orleans Pelicans. I don't think Zion Williamson is someone that you can trust to be a leader in your franchise, not only as a player on the court, but in that locker room. Who is going to look up to Zion Williamson and say, you know what, I want to learn from him? Because he just simply has not shown the habits necessary to be an NBA superstar. He oftentimes looks overweight. You had the entire drama with Mariah Mills, if you want to go there. And there's questions if he even loves the game of basketball. This has been a disaster. You can talk about him potentially being one of the most wasted talents in the NBA history after being the #1 pick out of Duke and everyone hyping him up. Like, he has played in his career 24 games as a rookie, 61 games in year 2, missed the entire 3rd season, played 29 games in year 4, played 70 last year, career high, and then, like I said, he's only playing 6 games this season. It has been a disaster for Zion Williamson in New Orleans to this point, and you really have to wonder if it's time to move off of Zion Williamson. I personally would think about trading him. I don't know what you could get in return. Obviously, I would not waive him or something like that, but if you can trade and get a first-round pick, like literally 1 first-round pick, I would contemplate it due to his contract, lack of ability to stay on the floor. It's a risk move. Like, obviously, if he gets back into shape and stays on the court, it could be a disaster, but the way things are heading in New Orleans, I don't know if it will ever change. All right, we have more to talk about in just a second, but we are sponsored by PrizePicks. PrizePicks, the #1 daily fantasy sports platform out there, and are a perfect way to get on the action and take advantage of your knowledge. You can win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct entries right now. And it's the best place to get real money sports action. Join over 10 million users and sign up today. And when you sign up today, you can get $50 instantly when you play your first $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Think Steph Curry will get more than 5 3-pointers, Giannis more than 30 points. Cook up your hot takes with your friends on PrizePicks when you and your crew run your game. I play PrizePicks on a daily basis and put in entries in the football slate, in the basketball world. It doesn't matter. I'm playing PrizePicks on a daily basis, and I'm looking ahead to this weekend in football land. I'm taking more than on Bucky Irving, 66.5 rushing yards, less than 242.5 pass yards for Patrick Mahomes, and more than 114.5 rushing yards for Saquon Barkley. You can do flex plays. You can do power plays. You can customize the way you play daily fantasy sports, which is why PrizePicks is the absolute best. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. One more time, that is code CLNS when downloading the app and creating an account to get $50 instantly after you place your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. That link's going to be in the description and comments of today's video. One more time, shout out to PrizePicks. Let's stay in New Orleans, but talk about Brandon Ingram and potential trade destinations for the former top 3 pick, because the forward is in his last year of his contract, has been the most rumored player to be dealt away from their current team in the NBA, dating back to the offseason due to the wants and demands of his new contract that he wants coming up soon. Pelicans unable to match it. And Charania reported that Brandon Ingram wants to be a part of a winning environment for his next team. Kind of a subtle shot at New Orleans Pelicans not having a winning environment, but I started to look at some teams that could trade for BI, that could be interested in the services of the wing and some potential winning environments. I came up with 4 teams. One is the Miami Heat. I don't know if Miami ultimately makes a move like this. I don't know if they want to try to acquire players and add to this roster. Jimmy Butler is going to be a potential free agent if he opts out of his contract. They've been underwhelming this year, but in a bad Eastern Conference, maybe they try to swing big with a Terry Rozier, Duncan Robinson first-round pick package and trade for Brandon Ingram. I don't know if that's something that could happen or the Pelicans would want, but that's kind of the thought there. Well, we obviously know they are a winning environment. I have the Cleveland Cavaliers. I've always thought that he could be a good connecting piece on the wing to fit in that Evan Mobley, Jared Allen front court with Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland in the backcourt. They are just playing such good winning basketball right now in Cleveland, best record in the NBA. You wonder if they want to rock the boat and keep things status quo or try to go all in and trade for Brandon Ingram. But that's a winning environment right now with a young group in Darius Garland, Mobley, and Donovan Mitchell. I have the Denver Nuggets on this list. I don't think the Nuggets could win a championship with their current constructed roster. Could they potentially move off Michael Porter Jr. and maybe draft capital to bring in Brandon Ingram to have a third guy with Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray? I think Murray is kind of slowly declining. Those injuries are catching up to him. Jokic is still Jokic. And with Brandon Ingram as that wing scorer, that could take this Nuggets team to another level. Obviously a high culture. They won a title 2 years ago. It's a winning environment for potentially Brandon Ingram. And the last name I'm going to mention here is the Golden State Warriors. The Warriors have overachieved so far this season. They're starting to regress back to where I thought they would be. over the past 2 or 3 weeks, but they are still a playoff caliber team in all likelihood. They need more scoring outside of Steph Curry. That is for certain. A Kuminga or Podziemski kind of type of package. I don't think both of them, but one of them and maybe a draft pick could get you Brandon Ingram. Also can move the contract of Andrew Wiggins as well. Now it's all dependent on if New Orleans would want to make these type of deals, but in terms of Ingram going to a winning team and a winning culture, I think the Nuggets, Cavs, Heat, and Warriors fit that bill, and also could be looking to add a wing scorer that Brandon Ingram could provide to the table. It's an intriguing situation to monitor, and we'll have you covered here at the channel. All right, last piece of trade rumors we'll talk about is the Houston Rockets. We've actually talked about them quite a bit over the past month here at Chat Sports, and there's just a lot around this team. They're an overachieving ball club. They're top 5 in the Western Conference. They're in the NBA Cup knockout stage. And the reports out of Houston is that this young team isn't going to be blown up. They don't want to sacrifice this core to go trade for a star. But if they did make one trade and one of their younger guys were dealt and moved off of, Jalen Green would likely be that top guy. And it makes a lot of sense if you're Houston's part. I don't think Jalen Green plays a winning style of basketball. He's an AAU-type hooper. He can get his, but he doesn't make his teammates better, in my opinion. He's also not the best defender. He's just an athletic guard that attacks downhill, gets a lot of shots off, and that's the reason why he's averaging 19.3 points per game. But that's an empty number to me. He's shooting 40.3% from the field and 33.1% from beyond the arc. Jalen Green is not an efficient basketball player. I think on a championship caliber team, his role that would provide winning basketball might just be a sixth man, former top 3 pick. I don't really see a lot there for Green to be a franchise builder. I like Amen Thompson. I like Tari Eason. I like Reed Shepard. I like Elfrid Şengün, Jabari Smith. Like, those young guys are a really well-gelled crew, but could the Rockets look to bring in some outside superstar-type talent, maybe a Jimmy Butler, by dangling Jalen Green and draft capital out there? We'll have to wait and see, which is why you subscribe to the channel, because we are going to have you covered. And like I always say, it does not matter if it is in the NBA, it doesn't matter if it's the NFL or college football. If there is something going around the sports world that needs to be covered and talked about, we'll be here for you. Subscribe to the channel, but also make sure you follow us on Instagram like we said off the top. Chat Sports is the handle, dropping content all the time.